It always starts with a lie dressed in a slogan. America first, they said, while quietly chiseling away at the foundation that made America strong in the first place, global trust. And now, here we are, we find ourselves at the precipice of an economic unraveling, staring down the long barrel of fiscal delusion dressed up as patriotic fervor. And at the heart of it all, the thing threatening to undo not just a presidency, but a generation of economic stability is a lawsuit about tariffs. Yes, tariffs. The blunt instrument wielded by a man who sees economics like he sees everything else, a zero-sum game where someone has to lose for him to win. The U.S. Court of International Trade ruled that Trump's latest round of tariffs, slapped like bumper stickers on goods from every corner of the world, were illegal. A gross overreach, a bastardization of emergency powers meant for war or catastrophe. Not a vanity project wrapped in red, white, and grievance, but before the ink could even dry on that ruling, the administration's lawyers ran, panting, to the appeals court with a promise. If these tariffs are found to be illegal, they'd refund every last cent to the American companies now being crushed under their weight. The court granted a stay, delaying justice like a warden handing out cigarettes before a firing squad. The appeals process rolls on, but the damage is already crawling through the system, through every grocery aisle, hardware store, and shipping yard in the country, because tariffs in practice are not paid by foreign governments. They are paid by importers, by retailers, by manufacturers, by you, and by me. They are attacks on our daily lives disguised as a blow to global rivals. And like most things in this era, they are a show, an illusion, a dangerous performance. Trump's tariffs don't just hurt foreign exporters, they punish the American working class. They raise prices on raw materials and everyday goods, all while promising salvation that never arrives. It's protectionism without precision, nationalism without the nuance, and it reeks of desperation. Like a man losing at poker who starts throwing furniture instead of folding. The idea of bringing jobs back with walls and taxes instead of with innovation and investment is the economic equivalent of burning down the damn house to kill a mouse. Meanwhile, foreign investors, the silent partners who fund America's big dreams, are backing away. China is selling off treasuries, Japan's interest is cooling, confidence is bleeding from the U.S. bond market, and interest rates are rising like floodwaters behind broken levees. The Federal Reserve can only do so much before its tools become sticks beating the air. And what are we doing in the face of this capital flight? We're strapping dynamite to our own economy by expanding the deficit through cartoonishly large tax cuts, handing billions to billionaires while gutting the institutions that stabilize our future. And that trade deficit, the great monster under Trump's bed, is not the villain he paints it to be. It's just a mirror reflecting America's role as a global consumer. The dollars we send out come back to us in the form of investment, or at least they used to. But if we shut off the trade pipeline with tariffs while simultaneously chasing investors away with instability, we don't fix the deficit. We create a vacuum, one where the dollar loses its crown as a global reserve currency, where oil gets priced in yuan instead of rupees or gold, and where we wake up to find we can no longer afford the life we borrowed for decades. The petrodollar is already wobbling. BRICS nations are experimenting with alternatives. The Saudis are taking calls from China. And we, once the trusted bedrock of global finance, look like the man screaming at a hurricane, convinced it'll change course if he just yells louder. The weight of the world used to rest on our currency, our markets, and our promise, and now it trembles at our volatility. If the dollar falls from grace, it won't be a cinematic crash, though. It'll be a slow, grinding shift. Imports will cost more, debt will become unpayable. The empire, still decked out in military ribbons and suburban comfort, will quietly buckle under the weight of its own arrogance. We will beg for the trust we once demanded. Our credit rating will become a confession, our currency a question mark, and our legacy a warning. Before we lay out the blueprint, though, for this recovery, let's pause to deal with the pushback. And we can deal with it honestly and unapologetically. One, that the economy hasn't collapsed yet, so how bad could it be? Well, because the damage is structural, not cinematic. Markets are lagging indicators. Stock gains in the short term are not a reflection of foundational health, but of short-term stimulus, speculation, and imbalance. Debt service costs are ballooning, investor confidence is quietly bleeding out, and you won't see collapse on a headline. But you'll feel it in rising interest payments, in the silent sell-off of treasury bonds, and in the shrinking of America's fiscal option. 2, that the tariffs were a strategic move to punish China. Well, if so, where are the results? There was no comprehensive trade realignment, no enforcement mechanism, and no lasting gain. Manufacturing jobs did not come back in mass. The Phase 1 deal was symbolic, and tariffs on allies like Canada and Germany were not strategic. They were chaotic. Strategy implies design. This was political theater with an economic body count. 3, that a new economic compact sounds too idealistic. Well, so did Bretton Woods in 1944. So did the Marshall Plan. So did every other moment when leadership dared to look beyond slogans. What's unrealistic is pretending we can paper over financial rot with geopolitical decline and tax cuts, tariffs, and volume. So what do? We start by telling the truth. We end the tariff war not with a whimper, but with a clear and defiant acknowledgement that it was wrong. We build alliances that we shattered with slaps and slogans. We rejoin global trade pacts. We assure the world that America is not a tantrum, it is a promise. And then we fix our books. We raise taxes on those who can afford it. We stop pretending deficits don't matter. We invest not in vanity, but in supply chains, infrastructure, and people. We unleash immigrants and engineers and builders and thinkers. We build trust, not just in our markets, but in our word. We restore the IRS, the EPA, the Department of Justice, not just to function, but to protect and guide. We tell the world our books are open, our laws matter, our institutions have teeth again, and we look our allies in the eye, not with threats, but with partnership. We invest in civic education, journalism, and truth. We teach our children how to read a balance sheet. We see through the grifter's charm, how to distinguish between patriotism and propaganda. We give them tools, not talking points. We must also act boldly and structurally. We should establish a National Sovereign Stability Council, nonpartisan and transparent, tasked with safeguarding the full faith and credit of the United States. We should pass automatic stabilizers into law, triggers that raise revenue or slow spending based on debt thresholds and not political whims. We must relink economic output to actual productivity instead of stock buybacks and speculative bubbles. We reindustrialize strategically. We offer tax incentives for critical industries, semiconductors, green tech, clean energy, storage, medical supplies. To relocate production domestically, we tie corporate tax breaks to job creation and long-term capital reinvestment, not offshore bank accounts. And we work with our trading partners to establish a new Bretton Woods, a 21st century global economic compact built not just on dollars and tariffs, but on shared climate goals, fair taxation, labor protections, and digital infrastructure. This is a moment that could stretch a scar across our economy for a generation or two. Or if we act with courage and clarity, it could be the beginning of a rebirth. Because America is not a man, it's not a brand, and it's not a border wall or a slogan on a hat. It's an idea, a living, breathing gamble on liberty and trust, and we are one more lie away from breaking it. Let the world see us stand up again, and not with tariffs and tantrums, but with truth, humility, and the kind of grit that built this place before anyone ever thought to brand it great again. Defiance till death.